So welcome to Head and Heel Live Special Edition, Legalization. We're very, very excited here at Head and Heel to celebrate cannabis legalization last week in New York State. I'm here with my co-founder, Alan Gandelman. Hopefully you all can hear us. Give us a thumbs up in the comments if the sound is good. Alan, say hi.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so can you guys let me know if you can hear me and hear Alan, and we'll get started. Yeah, so wow, what a long journey it has been to get here to legalization in New York. We are definitely celebrating. This is a huge win for New York. It's a huge win for us. I'm so proud of Alan and all the work that he's been doing over the past 3 years to make this a reality. We owe lots of credit to Alan and all of his colleagues at the New York Cannabis Growers and Processors Association for getting this bill through and making sure that there is real social justice reform in the bill. So I just want to give Alan a little pat on the back and say thank you so much for all the work that you've done. We're here to answer your questions tonight about cannabis and about Head and Heel and CBD and whatever you want to ask. I saw a lot of questions come in, but first I just want to start off, Alan, by asking you, well, one, how do you feel about cannabis legalization?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think we've been working on this for years, almost actually for me personally, 20 years since I was 18 years old, more than 20 years.
We got to post the picture of you with
Oh yeah, yes.
sign. We should post that.
There's a picture of me somewhere on Facebook from when I was 18, holding up a sign in New Paltz, SUNY New Paltz, that said "No More Drug War," and as people would drive by, they would honk. At that time, I was the vice president of my New Paltz NORML chapter, which is a national organization for reforming marijuana laws. So that was actually more than 20 years ago. So I've been working on this for quite some time. So yes, it's not, I don't know if it's really set in that it's real quite yet. It's like all just starting to still settle in that it actually happened. So it's freaking amazing.
Yeah. And I know that you were instrumental in helping to write the legislation and work with People Stokes and Liz Krueger on getting that bill. What do you think were the biggest wins of this bill?
Yes, so we did help with the bill and with also the hemp CBD bill as an association. And there's so many good. This is probably one of the most landmark, unique, progressive adult use cannabis bills in the entire country for multiple reasons. The biggest reason is the social equity component. 50% of all of the licenses that are given out from cultivation through dispensaries have to go to social equity applicants. And in social equity applicants, we're talking about people who have been affected by the drug war, people who have been arrested at some point in their lives, have been in prison, or people coming from communities that have been over-policed because of the drug war specifically. So I was just on another webinar with New York State Senator Jeremy Cooney, and he was saying in Rochester, New York, people of color are 16 times as likely to be arrested for cannabis than white people. 16 times, even though usage rates are exactly the same among people of color and white people. So it's kind of crazy. So that's a huge, huge component of this bill, and all of the money that's going to go back into reinvesting into those communities and business incubator programs and really, really unique ways to help small entrepreneurs who might be currently in the market doing delivery services or something like that get into the legal market. We call that the legacy market. So it's to get people from the legacy market to become legal business owners. So that's a huge part. And then there's different licenses that are amazing. One of the parts that I really liked for the social equity provision is there's a license for distressed farmers. So actually farmers in upstate New York who have been losing money or distressed from low commodities prices, or who live in counties and farm in counties that have higher than 10% poverty rate, those farmers will be also prioritized for licenses for cultivation. Um, and then outside of that, there's all these new license structures to really help small businesses. There's micro business licenses for people who just want to do a small business and grow and process and sell direct to consumers. There's also a license for farm cooperatives. So small farms could get together and form a cooperative, how they do in other industries, and can apply for a cultivation license that way. And there's also social consumption licenses. So if you live in a city or in the country and you live in a house, an apartment where you can't consume cannabis because maybe you rent it and the landlord doesn't allow it, or you have children at home, you'll be able to go to a social consumption site. I guess would be like a coffee shop or maybe a kind of a farm brewery, winery type situation where you can go there and consume cannabis. So that was also a really, really huge win. And I think the final thing is that we're allowed to have home grow, which a lot of people did not expect was going to happen. So people can have home grow. They could have up to 6 plants at home, and people with medical cards can grow at home too, and they could actually become caregivers and grow for other people who have medical cards who might not be able to go to a dispensary and afford to buy products. So there's more than that, but those are like the bigger, amazing.
Yeah, those are huge.
They're huge.
Amazing. And for those of you, I know there's a lot of questions about home grow. When can people start growing at home?
Home grow technically does not start for 18 months after the licenses are given out. So it's probably going to be a couple more years till you could legally do home grow at home. But if you have a medical card right now, you can start in 6 months. And I would suggest that look into getting your medical card. It's pretty affordable. I think it's like $50 or $100. And they have, as part of this bill, one of the things they've done is expand the conditions to get your medical card. So basically, your doctor can decide what condition cannabis could help. It could be insomnia, arthritis, pain, anxiety, whatever it is. Your doctor can now check an other box and say that you need a medical card for their reasons, not a conceived reason by the state. So it's going to be a lot easier to get your medical card now than it was before. And if you do that, then you could do home grow in 6 months.
Very interesting. And then, a lot of people are asking about the social equity program. Can you talk about what happened in other states where there were not social equity programs and why it's so important and why it was fought for so hard in New York State? Because cannabis wasn't legalized last year because there was not enough equity provisions in the bill, right?
Yeah. So last year, one of the biggest fights between Governor Cuomo and the state legislature was that the state legislature wanted 50% of the tax revenue coming from cannabis, which the total tax revenue will be about $350 million. They wanted 50% of that money to be allocated directly to communities that have been affected by the drug war for grants, for people to open dispensaries, for business incubators and those kinds of things. And the governor at that time really wanted the money to go towards the general budget, subways, etc. So because they couldn't decide on who was getting the money, that was one of the major reasons legalization last year did not happen. And then COVID came along and it basically destroyed any negotiations or talks between the governor and the legislature. But that funding was a huge bottleneck last year. And luckily this year, Cuomo gave into that and he gave the legislature what they wanted, and they wanted money for their communities that have been negatively affected by over-policing.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. And in other states, Carly, that was kind of the first part of your question. Yeah. I mean, we just have not seen people of color or people who cannot afford to get into cannabis getting into cannabis. The state of Illinois legalized cannabis about a year and a half ago, and in the entire state, including south side of Chicago, you cannot find one dispensary owned by a Black person, which is completely crazy considering Illinois has done over $1 billion in sales, $1 billion just in the last 12 months. I think January alone, Illinois did 150 million in sales in cannabis. So to think that none of those businesses are owned by people of color is just, it's really unfortunate. It's not fair. And, it just should not be that way. So hopefully we will not have that problem in New York.
Yeah. And I think there's legislation in place to ensure that. And we'll see
There is,
if, and we'll
there is
see if
legislation. There is
people
legislation in place, but
carry
for,
it out.
yes, for people who think just because a law is passed, then we're done. No, like actually the work starts now, and now it's creating the regulations and putting systems in place to make sure people can get those licenses.
Right. Yeah, there's still, it's hard to celebrate because there's still so much work ahead. Okay, so, people are wondering, like right now, if they wanted cannabis, where would they buy it? I think Alan kind of answered that question. If you can go to your doctor and get a medical card, and you'll get access to the medical facilities, and then you'll also be able to grow your own at home if that's something you want to do. Probably won't be able to buy actual legal cannabis in New York State for another 2 years at the minimum, right?
A year, maybe 18 months. Hopefully not so long as 2 years, but we shall see.
It's going to take time. Because even though the bill was written, there was a lot left out of the bill, like licensing structures or like a lot of the nuts and bolts still have to be figured out. And so that's kind of the next step. Can you talk a little bit more as to what has to happen now to?
Yeah, there is a lot that is not included in legislation that then is decided in regulations. And some of those things are how many licenses will be given out, like how many dispensaries will there be, how much are we going to charge for a dispensary license, when are we going to have the applications ready, who's going to write the applications for these things. And so all of those things will be decided over the next 3 to 6 months by the new Office of Cannabis Management. And so it's going to be a whole new office inside the New York State government. It's going to have 200 employees to oversee all of the cannabis programs. And right now what they're doing is they're appointing a board. There's going to be a 5-person board who runs this office. And that 5-person board needs to first be put in place because they're going to have to hire 200 people and basically build an entire government agency. And that's who's going to come out with the regulations and all of the things that we really, really want to know that we don't know yet.
Got it. Okay. What about, can people purchase products from out of state until they can buy them in New York? What are the laws about driving across legal state lines?
That's a great question. So yes, you could drive to Massachusetts, you could purchase products and bring them back to New York. There's a caveat. As part of our New York state laws, effective immediately, you are allowed to carry up to 3 ounces with you at any given time, or 24 grams of concentrates or edibles. So if you go to Massachusetts and you buy cannabis and edibles, you could buy, up to that amount, bring them back home. And if you got pulled over, that would be okay. And the police would not be able to do anything about it. Now, that does not mean you can smoke in the car. That is still completely illegal. No driving while impaired, no consuming cannabis in the car, just like alcohol. So don't think that's now allowed, but yes, you can have up to 3 ounces on your person, so you can buy it from somewhere else and bring it home and feel totally safe.
And what about the laws about if you get pulled over and your car smells like cannabis? What is the law now?
Yes, so police are no longer allowed to use the smell of cannabis as a reason to search you. Now, if the police think you are driving under the influence, then they can search you, but they can't search you just because they might smell it, which is like huge, totally, totally huge. And actually that one point, whether police could use the smell of cannabis to search someone, almost derailed the entire bill passing at the last minute, like 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, because there was so much opposition from the police union about that, because they really like the idea of searching people because they smell like cannabis. But luckily they are not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, it's a major win.
It,
Ending stop and frisk, ending arrests. I mean, it's life changing. It's
yes,
life changing.
it is.
Um, okay. What happens if your county or town wants to opt out?
Yes.
What happens to you, and how does that apply to you?
So there's no county opt-outs, first of all. There's only town and municipality opt-outs. And they can only opt out of a few things. They can only opt out of having a dispensary or having a social consumption site. And so if you live in a town that opts out from a dispensary, they can't opt out of home delivery. So home delivery service from another town can still come to your house and do delivery. They can't opt out from home grow. You'll still be able to do home grow. And they can't opt out from having some kind of cannabis manufacturing facility in their town. So it's a very limited opt out, and it is just for those dispensaries and social consumption sites. But if your town opts out, they also will not collect the sales tax revenue from the cannabis industry. The way the taxes work is that 4% of, there's going to be 13% sales tax. 4% of that goes to your local municipality and county, which is potentially a lot of money for some of these towns. So if you do opt out, you are also opting out of the revenue.
Wow, that's so amazing. That's pretty crazy. So basically, the only things that won't be allowed is a dispensary or an on-site consumption, but everything
Mhm.
else can happen in that town. And
Potentially, I mean zoning and that's a different. There's like zoning, so you
right,
can't start a farm in the middle of a residential district. I mean, there's other laws preventing some industries from taking place where they shouldn't be taking place, whether they're cannabis or not. But if you have a farm and there's right to farm laws and you're in an agricultural district, no one can stop you from starting a grow or cultivation facility.
cool. So I got a lot of people asking about micro licenses.
Mhm.
What exactly is a micro license? And I know we don't know this, but you can address it. Timeline and how much
Mhm.
it's going to cost to get a license.
So the easiest way to picture a micro license is to picture a farm brewery. You're going to be able to grow a small amount of cannabis. They're going to limit it by square feet. Um, we're assuming it's going to be somewhere in the 5,000 square foot range of greenhouse or outdoor. And then you'll be able to package your flower at the farm, potentially do some manufacturing of products, and also sell direct to consumer off your farm. So you'll be able to be completely vertically integrated, just like a farm brewery. People would be able to come and purchase products from you. That is going to be fantastic. Hopefully, there's going to be hundreds of micro businesses like this all over the state of New York. In terms of timeline and cost, the licenses will not be available until all the licenses are available. So we're probably looking at a year, 9 months to a year out before you can apply for those licenses. And we also will not know the cost to apply for those licenses, but they're going to cost money. Whether they cost $5,000 or $50,000, we are not sure yet. But what we do know from other states is that there will be a lot of regulations and red tape around even a micro business license. And so you will need security, you're going to need cameras, you're going to need clean manufacturing and packaging facilities. You're going to be using software that's seed to sale tracking software, because the state will track every single gram of flower that you grow and sell, and you will have to pay all of the appropriate taxes and all that stuff. So you will have to be prepared to have a computer system that can monitor and manage and pay your taxes. And then just like everyone else, you will be beholden to packaging requirements, packaging guidelines, child proof packaging, all those little containers that are hard to open. And you'll also have to do third-party lab testing. That's a very big component to the entire cannabis industry. I mean, I think everyone knows at Head and Heel, we have full panel third-party lab testing on everything that we do. And even though micro businesses are going to be small businesses, they will be required to meet those very high quality standards. You know, you're not going to be able to be selling flour that has mold on it, or any microbiological contamination. So you might need UV lights or ozone to make sure everything is clean and safe. And those are the things that are going to cost money. So while the license itself might cost $5,000 or $50,000, the infrastructure and the knowledge and, you know, the whole back end of running this kind of integrated operation will be expensive, and it will be difficult, but I think a lot of people have the skills in the state to pull it off and follow through with it, just like wineries and breweries.
Totally. Yeah. It's so exciting to think, you know, you could go on a cannabis tour, like a wine tour.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Yes, it's going to be amazing.
Those, go out to Cortland. That's very cool. Could a micro licensed business have on-site consumption too?
As of right now, it's unclear, but we think yes. And there's multiple reasons why we think yes. One is because you're allowed to sell direct to consumer. So someone's coming to your farm to purchase a product. And two, you're allowed to now consume cannabis anywhere where you can smoke tobacco, for example. So if someone comes to the farm and they want to walk through the field and they want to smoke or have a drink, as long as the farm allows that, they're allowed to do that. There's no reason why they should not be allowed. So I think what will happen is the micro businesses will be allowed to have on-site consumption, but I don't think the state has really thought through how that actually looks and plays out.
Very thorough answer. Thank you. Barbara wants to know if we're going to offer growing classes for recreational growing. I think that's a really fun idea. We have a lot of practice now doing education and taking you guys on tour of the farms. I don't see why we couldn't teach people how to grow cannabis at home too.
Yes, that could be an option. And, you know, the other thing is, if you're going to do home grow, you're going to need seeds and you're going to need clones, and someone is going to have to provide all of those things.
We're pretty good at that. Will Head and Heel get a crop in this season? We're probably absolutely not going to have a license this season, so we will not be getting a cannabis marijuana crop in this season. We will be growing hemp again. And of course, lots and lots and lots of veggies. We were just doing our farm plans the other day, and we're trying to decide how many acres of carrots should we grow this year. Here's a pop quiz for you guys. How many acres of carrots do you think we're going to grow this year? Comment. We'll let you know who wins. Let me just read through some of these other questions. How will the board conduct environmental reviews and impact statements of proposed indoor and outdoor grow facilities?
That is a great question that I have zero answer to. There is a lot of very strict environmental regulations written into the bill, actually, and people who are skilled in sustainable agriculture and regenerative farming practices and can prove that they have a sustainability plan will actually get points to get a license. So the state is taking that very seriously. They don't want to create a ton of carbon emissions just from the cannabis industry. I don't know how that plays out, but I do know that it's it is a hot topic of conversation. You know, and that might just mean buying all your electricity from renewable sources. And probably nobody knows this. I don't know why anyone would know this, but
yeah, we never that.
I was just going to say, at Head and Heel, you know, we do use a lot of electricity in our facility, but we do 75% of all the power that we use comes from renewable sources. So, you know, there are ways to offset that kind of energy use and be a little bit more environmentally friendly.
Yeah. I forgot to tell Laura we were going to send an email out about that, and then a million things happened, and I forgot.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We're really serious about that.
We got to send out an email about how our energy credit and how we use renewable energy. It's very cool aspect of what we do. You guys know we're organic farmers. We practice regenerative practices. Everything we try to do sustainably, and it is our goal to be a sustainable cannabis company. So I think, I love that you guys are asking these questions and holding companies accountable. It's the right thing to do. Are edibles now legal for hemp, and will they be legal for cannabis?
So yes, edibles are legal. Food and beverages are legal for hemp, as is flower. So hopefully we'll start seeing
Huge
more of
win
that.
on the flower.
Huh?
Huge win on the flower.
Oh, huge win. Yes, I think there's a lot.
Those of you who have followed us know that we got banned from selling flower in the state after we had already harvested it all last season. Now that it is legalized, it means that we can finally launch our new hemp flower brand, which we'll tell you guys more about on 420. So stay tuned. But yeah, very exciting. So beverages, edibles, and flower now legal.
Yes, all of those things are now legal. Yeah, it's a huge win.
And will they be legal for cannabis?
And they would absolutely be legal for cannabis. Yes, 100%.
Awesome. Will the state allow hydrocarbon extractions? Ross wants to know.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is hydrocarbon extraction?
Hydrocarbon means extracting with butane or propane. So right now that is not allowed in the CBD industry. We're only allowed to use either ethanol or CO2, but it is really common, Colorado and California, for people to do hydrocarbon extraction for THC products that they then dab. Those concentrates are all hydrocarbon extracted.
Barbara says she wants to volunteer at the farm for a weekend. You will work on the farm for like an hour and then be so over it. It is rough, tough work. But we do have a music festival every year on our farm called Seed Stock, where you can come and camp out amongst the hemp plants and enjoy some incredible local music. It's a great time. I don't know if it's happening this year, but hopefully we can see you all there next year. We'll see. We'll see if it happens this year. We haven't made the final call on it yet, but it's super, super fun. And just, we have a community of such talented musicians. So we'll definitely invite you guys out to the farm at some point. We also like to host farm tours when it's not COVID times, and walk you guys around the farm and show you all that we do, because we're really, really lucky, and it's really beautiful where our farm is in Cortland. All right, we're going to take one more question tonight, and then Alan and I are going to go to bed because we've been since like 5 a.m. and are exhausted and are holding on by a thread here. So who's got the last question for us tonight? Is there a cannabis kibbutz? That doesn't count as the last question. That's just Ross. Ross, I've always wanted to live on a kibbutz. Yes, this is my dream come true. We're all going to build houses on the farm, and we're going to grow cannabis and be happy. It's going to be great. Do any of the other 20 of you have questions for us about cannabis before we log off for the night? Expanding the farmer market to Jefferson and Law and Street Law County. Barbara, send me a message about that.
Is she asking if we're going to do more farmers markets?
I guess so. I don't know exactly what she's saying.
Okay.
All right, well, it sounds like you guys don't have any more questions. So for the 19 of you who are still with me, I'm going to give you guys $10 off on headandheal.com tonight. You can use a coupon code LEGALIZE until midnight tonight for $10 off your order, just to celebrate legalization. Yay, yay, yay. And just a few little announcements. We've got some big, big stuff coming. We've got a new product launching for Mother's Day and some Mother's Day kits. So stay tuned to hear what that is. And we've got some other big things planned. Going to keep them secret for now. Use the code LEGALIZE at checkout. You have until midnight. And one last question from Sean we'll take. What MSO companies would you expect to have a presence in New York?
So that's a great question. There's currently 9 medical marijuana registered organizations here in New York. Most of them are MSOs, and all of those companies will be participating in the adult use program. I don't remember all of them, but Green Thumb and Curaleaf and Cresco, a couple other ones. So you could look that up on the state's website. So all of those will definitely be in New York. What other MSOs will be here that aren't here is hard to say. Only time will tell. I'm sure many will try, and hopefully New York really focuses on its own New York State homegrown businesses and really does not let too many MSOs come in here and dominate the market.
Yeah, we're trying to prevent that from happening. All right, and Alan, for the final question, how many acres of carrots are we growing this year? I don't even think you've decided yet.
10, probably 10.
10 acres.
10 acres.
All hand. The craziest thing is that we hand harvest our carrots. 10 acres of carrots hand harvested, and carrot harvest is at the same time as hemp harvest. So we usually have 2 crews going. Got the hemp crew and the carrot crew in late September, right? October.
That's the time for Barbara. That is the time to come and volunteer is during carrot.
Yeah, you want to come pull carrots.
Yes.
Freezing cold.
Yes, amazing. It's late September. From October till Thanksgiving, we're harvesting carrots every day in all weather, all the time. As long as the sun is up, people are harvesting carrots, and so it's a lot of fun. It's really muddy and fun, and a really good workout because carrots are heavy.
All right, so thank you everyone for joining us. $10 off. You guys can use Legalize coupon code at checkout on Head and Heel tonight. Thanks for all your support. This has been a crazy few years getting to this point, and we're just so happy and proud of this community we're building here. And we've got a crazy year ahead of us, and we're going to need your support. So keep helping us spread the word. We're a small company, we're a small business based in Cortland, and we rely on word of mouth to get our brand out. So please tell people about our company. Use that $10 to buy a hat or a t-shirt and rock our brand around town. I still haven't seen a stranger wearing our shirt in public, and that is like totally one of my business goals. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alan, for joining tonight. And we'll see you guys all in a few weeks to talk about, I think, capsules versus tinctures is the next live. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.